This is it.
Dude, Randy's the man, dude. Randy, so we just hop in here, Randy. We started already. Like, we're officially rolling. But you are the first, I think, the first person to ever bring us gifts.
If you guys aren't watching on YouTube,
this is amazing. We have
Poop
floating
pens.
poop pens. They're pens with little emoji turds on top, which is awesome.
Pretty much.
Which is how I met Randy.
How did you meet Randy? Tell me.
I just met Randy recently at a job site. It's been a long day already.
It's your birthday, buddy.
Hey,
Come on.
Thank you. Yeah,
What a stud.
Hired him to do a sewer lateral inspection, and he was great.
Yeah.
So,
a couple weeks ago.
Man, thanks for coming on today, Randy.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun today.
Yeah. So how does a person get into this line of work, Randy?
That's a loaded, good question.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, first of all, it's a family business. My brother and his son are in it, and they've been running their business. They're Sewer-Oscopy. I'm Sewer-Oscopy West.
Oh, okay.
And they've had their business for about, going on 8 years. So I'm at 4 years. So they're at 8 years. That's how it all started. My brother was looking for a transition out of the corporate world, kind of playing, different things. Some worked out, some didn't. And it's actually, to go take a step back, it's through my best friend, Van is his name. And his dad's a master plumber. Greek dad came over, started a business. And then myself, growing up with my best friend, Van, we would help his dad in plumbing jobs, digging ditches or doing whatever. And through the years, Van got his plumbing license. And so my brother was like, hey, do you know anyone or do you have an idea? I'm just looking, blah, blah. I was like, well, yeah, go with my buddy Van. Go hang out with him at the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. He's got a lake house down there. And just hang out, just see what's going on. Maybe you can have an idea or something, a conversation or whatever. And his dad was there at the time. He's like, yeah, this is what I do. This is what I'm doing today. I do sewer lateral inspections. Come with me. I'll train you.
No
and
way.
then you can do your own thing after that.
Dude, that's so sweet of him.
So that's how it all started. It was, and I knew, obviously my brother, he was all in, got trained, bought all the equipment, everything. And just through the a year mark, 2 year mark, 3 year mark, he's like, hey, I'm doing, really good. I want to get in touch with Van's dad just to thank him for everything, because he's been able to hire his son full time, and there's a lot of huge blessings in there that are happening. And I was like, of course. I was like, here's information. I was like, but when you say good,
it means different things to different people.
What does that mean? Yeah. So I went out, and that's how I started my journey. I went out with him just to see what was going on for a full week, and they do a ton. They do like 15 a day.
Whoa.
And so they're running in Missouri and Illinois. And so they do a lot of business. And so I was just like, okay, so I get it. I understand. I was like, let's train me, let's do this. So we, my wife and I, we decided to make the jump. I was in the corporate world, and made the jump during COVID. So that's when it all launched, was in 2020. So,
wow.
That's right.
Yeah. So it was crazy to launch a new business during COVID.
And you survived, man.
And,
Did it.
And
it sounds like you're doing great.
Yeah, no, I mean, from then until now, I can't just put into words. So I'm very fortunate. I'm very humbled. I'm very blessed to be where I am today.
Well, and you work hard for it. So.
Yeah.
So tell us what it is you do. Like, what are the extent of the services that you provide?
Yeah, good question. So outside of the lateral inspections, right? So if you go into a lateral and you find out your most common.
Well, maybe could you describe what a sewer lateral is for people who might not know?
That's a good.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's that main pipe. So it's like 50% of your plumbing system. So everything in the house, from your dishwasher to your washing machine, showers, bathtubs, they all drain into this pipe called a lateral, right? So it all comes in and then extends from the house out to the street, where typically the city mains are connected into, where the lateral connects into the city main. Yeah. So it makes up the 50% of that plumbing in the house. So it's one of those things you definitely don't want to overlook, because
So important.
if there's an issue, it's the most expensive part to get fixed. I mean,
Especially on a rush.
correct. So, I mean, just to give you a good number is like 14 to 16,000 to replace that line.
Because you got to cut. Well, I guess, we should talk about, you don't always have to cut.
Sure.
But potentially cutting into the sidewalk, street, all the way back to the home.
Sure.
It's a big project.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so that's really cool. So you're doing a scope of that, like basically camera inspection.
Mm-hmm.
And then also we were just talking, I don't want to forget about this later, about doing like rain gutter and like where those pipes drain. You can you can expect basically anywhere that there's a pipe. Essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as long as my camera can get in there, and because I do a lot of the drains, especially after the big rains we've had over the last year. Residential homes and even commercial buildings, they've been running into issues of just being backed up, and typically in there it's just your normal sediment stuff that goes in there and builds up. But there's also root intrusion that can happen as well too. Mm-hmm. So on that corrugated pipe for the drains, it's not that strong, and roots will get right in there and kind of block everything up. So it's a real easy fix for those because they're not so deep to dig up. So.
And there's like jetting and other things as well, where maybe you don't even have to dig it up, where sediment has built up over the years.
Yeah, so I have a jetter as well too.
Oh, no way.
So I can go in there, and I've done, many of them like that, is you just do it with lower pressure, because if it's not a PVC pipe or an ABS pipe, you want to go in with lower pressure so you don't blow that pipe out.
That's cool.
So yeah.
So that leads us to like our next question, which would be like, what's the technology that's involved here? What's the equipment, the tools that you use to do these inspections? Because it has come a long way. There's been so many advances, and it'd be really cool to kind of paint the picture of like what this has evolved into today.
Yeah, and it's a good question, because for me, it's what I feel separates me from other companies that do what I do. Kind of, and this is what I mean by that. So if there's issues in the lateral, I have equipment to put my camera down and see everything on the monitor with my cleaning equipment. So whether it's a jetter or it's called K-Flex, it's basically a tool that you put down, and there's a cable, or it's covered in like a cable, like a fiber lining. Yeah. And at the end of that, there's your chains that turn. Yep. So that enables my camera to be right in there with it and just pinpoint exactly where I need to go.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm not beating up an old clay pipe or a cast iron pipe or anything like that, or if it's grease or anything. So I always use my camera. If I don't have eyes on it, then I'm very hesitant of what I'm trying to get out, versus another company that would come in with just a cable, throw a cable down, and then say maybe pull some roots out. And then they're like, okay, I got it. Here's your roots. Yeah, you did. You got a root bundle, but how do you know everything's gone? I get calls all the time. I've had 2 companies out. They said they got everything, and it's still backing up. Stick a camera down. That's typically my first question. Was there ever a camera down there? Typically they say no. I was like, okay, well, let me stick a camera down and see what's going on. So you'll find out very quickly what's happening.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so not jumping ahead too far here, but I love those techniques. But like, you're going in, I'm trying to imagine this equipment. So there's kind of like a camera, and then it's in a fiber optic cable, and then there's like metal chains, kind of like spurs that stick out.
Correct. So you can do like a soft chain, and it's typically what I use in clay or anything, unless it's really impacted with roots. And then you can do the same chain, but they have like little razors on them, so that it will grab harder. You know what's in there.
So and for our audience, so basically you have clay pipes, which believe it or not, like older houses use clay pipes. And they're a lot more fragile. They break, but not as good as ABS. Mm-hmm. And then you also have cast iron pipes. And then the other one is that Orangeburg, which is probably where you see a lot of your kind of more major issues. Mm-hmm. Do you want to describe that?
Sure. Yeah. Orangeburg. Basically what that is it's recycled wood that has been coal tarred together. So, and your normal pipe looks like this, and what happens over time with that piping, it will go like that.
Just shrinks.
Yeah, and
or it caves in.
pancakes.
almost.
Correct. So structurally, it will go oval, or there'll be defects that look like, I call them blisters or rocks that look like they're bulging up underneath.
Oh, wow.
And it just starts to flake. Like,
why did that material begin to be used?
that's a good
It
question.
was made in Orangeburg, New York. I know that fact.
Marketing.
So the from what I understand through all my research, and it's on my brochure as well too, is that after, was it World War II, they couldn't feel the demand for the housing boom as far as,
interesting.
I think it was cast iron. They were, because it was, everyone was getting a home.
Yeah, that was like the birth of the
Baby
suburb,
boomers.
Yeah.
right?
Suburb,
Yeah.
Like Levittown, New
Yeah.
York, and all that.
hmm And they, there was
big brain stuff.
a contractor who went out and bought a telco company, and he used Orangeburg piping from the telco company. So it's like a fiber. It kind of looks like a fiber, but it's not obviously as hard and structurally, there.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started. And then they stopped using it, I want to say early 70s.
Baby, that guy made a lot of money because there's a lot of that in Orangeburg.
Yeah. I still see it everywhere. Along all your beach cities, in the cities. It's just, you just run across it and you're just like, oh, well, there it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Orangeburg.
Okay.
Cool.
It's pretty cool when he sticks, because how often do our clients there with you? Because that was a little bit, I don't know, it felt different to me. It was really cool to see the process. And then he showed us, he's got this monitor where you can see what he's seeing. He's watching it through this screen. And so we were just huddled around it, like, thinking it was the coolest thing ever.
Right.
It was really neat. But or do you just send them the videos afterwards? How does that work?
If they can't be there, which a majority of them are not, I just send them the video, the report, and say, hey, watch the video, and then call me if you have any questions, concerns. Let's talk through.
And are you talking through the video? How do they know even what they're looking at?
I narrate it.
You narrate it.
Yeah.
That's so
So
cool.
just, you want to try to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Right. There isn't anything, rocket science to this at all. So it's just keeping it, hey, this is what we're looking at. This is the kind of pipe we're in. If there's, a blockage, this is what we're looking at, and just kind of describe it. And
we're 16 feet out, blah, blah, blah. You're
Yes.
describing where you're seeing different things so that if there is a repair that needs to be made, they can go cut it up, fix that spot.
Yeah. And then I would locate it. So say if there's a section of Orangeburg or just root intrusion or something that's really bad, or an offset joint, I have the equipment to go and locate that. My camera sends up a signal, and I have like a little wand that will find the signal. And so I can give you a pinpoint of the depth and where it is. So I'll mark it with paint or put a little green flag there.
That's awesome.
So yeah, as far as that goes, it's big to, have that information.
Well, yeah, you're not doing a bunch of exploratory digging to find it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well,
That's really
it was neat on this last one. We had known that the seller had replaced the sewer line, is what it said. And the cost, they told us what it cost, and it seemed really reasonable. So what we learned was that they replaced part of it, up to basically the sidewalk, I think it was, right? But not all the way into the street.
You smell like beef and cheese.
You don't smell like Santa. You sit on a throne of lies. But it was nice that it was nice. I'm not trying to dog the sellers. It was great. They replaced it. Then maybe there was some issue, but then the buyers just wanted to make sure that the rest of the line was okay. And so, he scoped going this way down. He scoped going the other way down, and really thorough and educational about what to look for. So what kinds of things do you see that are red flags to you?
So it depends on obviously the piping, but say we'll just talk about clay and cast iron, which is your normal, could be trouble, could not be trouble. In your clay piping, the joints are called bell and spigot seams, and they were never completely sealed together. So what happens over time is they become offset like that, either going out or coming in, and that's where your roots will come in and find moisture. So the common thing is just tree roots for that. But if they're offset enough to where the seal isn't holding on anymore, then there could be separation, and that's a reason why I run the water, just to make sure it's all staying in the lateral. But That's a big one. So you just kind of jump levels of.
And you're running water the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And you're seeing the flow and where it's
Correct.
or stalled or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So cool. So then you don't do the repair. You'll do root removal.
Correct.
And then jetting and all of that, but you don't do. So what are your recommendations often look like? Is it something like a water heater where it's like, yeah, it's 15 years old, but it's still working. Just keep working it until it doesn't anymore and then replace it? Or is there more preventative maintenance to do? What do your recommendations look like on these types of things?
Yeah. And that's a good question because every lateral is different, but just say it's a normal one that, hey, it needs help. What does that mean? It needs to be managed. There's roots in there. We can clean the roots out. How do you manage it from there? I recommend it's called Root X. It's like a foaming agent. You put down the lateral, you can flush it down the toilet and it goes down the lateral and it sticks to the roots that are exposed. Just in the lateral. It doesn't kill the trees or anything like that. But that's how you can manage, something like that as far as roots go. And I always recommend, it depends on how bad the lateral is, either a yearly inspection or once every 2 years. That way, if there's offset joints or if there's roots and we're maintaining it, but let's get eyes back on it so we know exactly what's happening. So that would be the couple of things there to maintain, just an older system. And it doesn't mean you have to dig and replace it either. So
yeah. Was there I'm going back in my memory. Was there like a copper or something that you would use also to kill the roots, or some kind of metal? I don't know. Forget.
I don't know. Could be.
The interesting thing is you mentioning frequent inspections. The city of San Luis Obispo requires.
It's not a bad requirement. It's
sewer
just something
laterals.
that people typically.
Yeah. Why? I mean, do we know why? I know they do, but they are clearly having issues. That was costing.
Let you answer.
Go ahead.
Oh, you?
Yeah, you take it. You're the pro.
They started in 2020, so right when I opened my business.
Perfect.
Nice. What are the odds?
He's really good at lobbying.
Yeah.
So it was. From what I understand, it was because in big storms, it was backing up into the sewage, so it was causing a major issue, kind of thing. So they wanted to see the residential portion. Hey, what do those laterals look like going into the city main? So I think to try to prevent as much as possible.
Yeah, I think I'm going back in my memory banks here, but I think what was happening, they had like storm water drains on people's residences going into their sewer lines. So they were cutting into their sewer lines and then using that as a drain for all their water that was on their property.
Wow.
And so you check for that in that inspection.
Yeah, you see that. You're just like, what just happened here?
Yeah. I mean, it's super shady.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
wait, say that again, Jeff?
Okay, so this is I believe this is why it originated. Because I'm going back, years in my memory banks here. But so the city of SLO, when they'd have these storms, they would have a huge influx of water coming into the sewage treatment plants that they couldn't handle.
Okay.
And so they're like, we need to remedy that. And the only way we know of where this water is coming from is by requiring at point of sale inspection to make sure that it's not happening. So if Randy sees one and he sees that there's a sewer line that's connected to a drain, like a storm drain at the person's residence, that's like they put in to deal with their water issue.
That the resident put in?
The resident put in, yeah. Then he reports that to the city, says, hey, right?
Well, they would see it on the video.
They'd see it on the video.
Yeah, so that's why they require that, so they could see everything.
So then they go to Mr. Homeowner and they're like, hey, you need to cut that and cap it because you can't be using this. It's not a storm drain. It's not made. It's not our system is not to handle all the storm water that comes onto your property.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was
they were doing that.
A couple of reasons, and I believe that could have been one of them.
And then the other thing was, I think they did have concerns because there was a lot of the Orangeburg piping, and so I think they had concerns like, hey, people don't know that they're buying a house, and then all of a sudden they have a $16,000 to $20,000 bill.
Sure, it's to protect the buyers.
Just to protect the buyers.
Yeah.
So the city of SLO is like, let's be proactive, and then it could come out of the proceeds, or they at least have that second negotiation. And they only require it for older houses. So I forget what the age is now.
20 years.
20 years. So 20 years, and then they have a system, an ArcGIS system, where they literally green tag all the houses that have had this inspection, and they don't require it for another so many years after that's happened.
Correct. Yeah, there's a big portal you can go to and type in the address, and either there'll be information on it because there's been, a sewer lateral inspection done, or you'll just see kind of, the data installed and nothing's been done yet because they don't have that information. So.
It's a really good thing to do these inspections. What do they cost? A couple $100 bucks. Mm-hmm. So, you do that every year or two. And especially when you buy a home, it's interesting because we have a home inspection done, and that, almost 10 times out of 10, seller does it or the buyer does it. And then we talk about, there's galvanized plumbing or there's PEX or copper or whatever it is. And homeowners know to think about those sorts of things and what it'll cost to re-plumb. But you're saying that's only 50% of your plumbing, though. There's this massive and arguably more expensive component to your plumbing that most people don't even think to do. Yeah. And so it's been really interesting as we've been talking to clients about the options of sewer lateral inspections and just peace of mind, especially in an older home, knowing it's working fine.
And like, what would you suggest for maintaining a sewer lateral line?
Well, first and foremost, you just have to have an inspection on it, so you know what you're dealing with. Are there any issues? Are there not any issues? Yeah. And then going back to, if it's older, do it once every 2 years if the issues aren't that bad. But even on the newer homes, this is the biggest misconception. I can show you guys video upon video of newer homes that have a whole nother set of issues. Typically, it's not your root intrusion. It can
like valleys and
it can be like settled spots, bellies. But they have issues, and that's why don't ever assume just because it's newer that piping is good. I always say you just don't know what you can't see, and until you have it done, how do you know?
I know you don't do the repairs and everything, but maybe you could speak to options. If somebody's thinking, okay, if I get a bad inspection, I want it replaced. What are my options?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's 3 ways really to do a sewer lateral replacement, or there's 2 ways to do the replacement, and then you can do what you call is a lining. There's a liner that you can put in the actual structure of the pipe. It's like epoxy. It's like it hardens like a PVC. So it looks like a big Ghostbuster machine that goes down one side, and they push this through to the other side.
Wow.
So that's an option. Then you have your traditional dig and replace, and then you have what you call your pipe bursting. Most of everyone, you're trenchless.
I used to do that with the oil company. We did pipe bursting.
Oh, there you go.
So what is pipe bursting?
So go ahead.
Oh no, you do it.
No, go ahead.
So what we did at the oil company, we'd pull basically a bigger kind of machine that was bigger than the pipe, and it would bust out the pipe, and at the same time it would drag a new pipe right behind it and replace it. So it's like busting out the original pipe, like outward in diameter, and then pulling a new one right behind it.
Randy, is he right?
He's totally right.
Ah, shoot.
Nope.
I know stuff. I know stuff.
Yeah, look at him.
But it was fun. That was like, whenever we did, I was like, cool.
What's the best solution? Is it a dig and replace, or is it that pipe bursting? Like what advantages, disadvantages? What do you think?
Yeah, well, it always boils down to budget.
Sure.
So your cheaper option would be sleeving, right? But if you're looking, I feel long-term would always be better just to replace it. But it always boils down to budget, but that's what I would prefer. But again, it's just more expensive.
Can you do it in stages? Like if you do half, like the sellers we were working with, replace half of it and then come back in a year or two and replace the other half to the street?
Yeah, because you can go prior to crossing into the city, right? You have to, once you get into the street, into the city zone, then you have to have those permits. But a lot of, just like the house that we did had what you called an upper replacement versus a full replacement or just a lower replacement. So if you wanted to save your budget and just do the upper first, and then if the bottom portion wasn't that bad and you can hold off for a while, then you can save your money and wait for it.
The thing I wanted to mention, we were talking at the house, and a lot of people probably think like, the job's pretty gross, probably working with sewers, but you mentioned something that's even more gross than the sewer lateral. Do you remember that? Yes. What is that?
Yeah, it's the kitchen clean out. So because you have all the food, that has been gone down the disposal, and it all hangs out. 9 times out of 10, it really doesn't always get flushed through. It's the perception, obviously, of going into a sewer lateral that it's going to be, oh my God. But that's why you run the water, you know, you get it out, get it through, and you're just looking at water. But I mean, if you really want a hard gag reflex,
open your kitchen clean out.
Open your kitchen clean out.
You're just like, the smell.
I mean, is that something that should be? Because before you said that, it never occurred to me. I'm sure I knew we had
That's
one.
That's why they have a clean out.
Yeah,
it should probably get cleaned out.
It should probably get cleaned out.
Yeah, you can. That goes back to jetting. You know, you could do a low pressure jet just to flush it. Some customers, they're like, okay, come back out, every 2-3 years, and just to clean it.
Yeah.
And kind of go from there.
So outside of inspections, what would happen to trigger somebody realizing they have a problem? Is it like the sewer getting backed up? Is that the most common thing that happens?
Yeah. So you're going to
standing in a puddle of water.
Oh my gosh.
You're going to know it because it's going to back up in pretty much everywhere. As far as if there's two bathrooms in there, that's a pretty good giveaway. It's in the lateral if both are backing up. So yeah, you're just like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm in for. Come out and put a camera down, and 9 times out of 10 you'll find that blockage there. Yeah.
Brutal.
Where do you see the industry going? Like, what's the future?
Technology. I mean, they run these big conventions for sewer drain people, for plumbers, and there's always something new coming out, especially when you're talking the technology that I use just to do sewer lateral camera inspections. So it just depends. I mean, it just keeps getting better and better. The quality of cameras, the quality of equipment, it's pretty amazing to see. Cool. But the costs keep going up for that as well. So anything new like that, you're just like, oh,
yeah,
love to have it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was fun.
Man, Ray, thanks for being on today.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, this is about the time in the episode where we get to know Randy a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
You ready? Okay.
Yeah.
So the same 4 questions we ask every guest.
Okay.
So you want to start, Jeff?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we always like to know what's your favorite book, movie, or TV show or series.
Favorite book, movie, or TV? Well, I'm an old school comedy guy. So TV, like I love Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh, yeah.
My wife always rolls her eyes at me every time it's on the TV, but it's always on the background. So
that's cool.
Love comedies, any
Lighthearted, have some fun.
Yeah. That's the kind of my mental getaway.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 2. Who is the most influential person in your life?
Well, I'd have to say my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for sure. So that's, that for sure. But then, I'm surrounded by a great group of people as far as family goes. And my father-in-law is a big one.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah. He's one of those guys where, just grew up doing it himself. And by that, I mean, he had a construction business, was a retired teacher out of SLO, and him and his wife, they built a pretty awesome, I don't know what you want to say. They have like 14 rentals in SLO, that they've remodeled and built, from back in the day when you could do that as far as the pricing.
Yeah.
Started in late 60s, early 70s, and kind of grew this into something amazing. So,
wow.
Yeah, he's a big one on my list.
That's
great.
so cool.
Yeah.
All right, question number 3. Describe your ideal day on the Central Coast.
For fun?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not working.
No, we are not. If
Right.
your ideal day involves sewer laterals, we need to spend 30 more minutes addressing some personal issues.
We got a counselor on standby. Yeah. No, it would definitely be going to the beach somewhere for sure, hanging out with the family. And then typically at the stage where my kids are in, they're all teenagers. So we'd go say to, Cambria or something and hang out at the beach and then go have lunch and go shopping. So
that's so cool.
That's a big one for the teenagers. Is
Where would you have lunch?
Any one of those
On that main street?
Yeah, I love that in Morro Bay. So we like to do that, especially getting out of the heat. We're out of Templeton, so during this time of year.
Yeah.
So, but either that or barbecuing. So I'm a big griller. I love to barbecue and swim and all that fun stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite thing to barbecue lately?
Yeah.
What do you use? You got Santa Maria, you got pellet. What do you?
I got them all, to be honest.
Okay.
So I'd love to. I'm from the Midwest, so I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a big ribs
guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can smoke a mean rib.
Yeah.
And have the family over and just kind of enjoy all that. So love to cook for the fam. That's another big thing of mine. So
that's awesome.
I'm coming over.
Yeah.
That sounds incredible. Okay, well, final question. How do people get in touch with you if they want to learn more, chat with you, hire you for an inspection, whatever? How do
Eat your ribs.
Yeah. Your ribs. Do a little BBQ. You can find me online at Sewer-Oscopy or on Facebook. Same thing, Sewer-Oscopy West. And sometimes I get calls from my brother because they'll look online because he's Sewer-Oscopy, but I'm Sewer-Oscopy West. So just make sure you look for the West.
The West.
And then, of course, call direct anytime. So
Okay.
And I also do on your for the realtors where you guys go look up homes. They have that new advertisement going on. So if you're looking up a house or something, it's through Savvy Card.
Yeah.
So I'm in there as well too.
So that's cool.
So you could see me there.
Okay. So you're on the I call them the candy bars for like the home sites.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man,
Randy.
what a great interview, man. Thanks so much for being
Yeah,
on.
appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks
guys.
for being
taking
here.
time out of your busy schedule to be
No
here.
worries, man. Anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime. So
All right.
thanks for having me.
You bet. We'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty.